What's up guys, this is Dr. and how you all doing? I hope you guys had a great experience at BlizzCon if you went there or if you had the virtual ticket. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Today I want to talk about the dungeons, the Legion dungeon information we got at BlizzCon. Now, before I continue about the dungeons, I want to say is that I'm gonna make several videos over the next week about every topic. I'm gonna make one about the leveling system, the artifact weapons, the class changes. The class change is gonna be probably the last one because they're spreading out that information over the next coming days. But I will cover each topic. There are more topics I want to cover, but they're gonna have their own separate video, and they will be coming out along the week and along the more information we got. Now, before we dive into the dungeon video, keep in mind that everything is up to change. Yes, this was BlizzCon, but the alpha, well, there has been a closed alpha going on with BlizzCon employees, but the beta has yet to start. So everything is, well, not everything, but a lot is up to change. Things could still change around. Now, to start off with the dungeons, we're gonna get 5 leveling dungeons: the Eye of Ashara, Neltharian's Lair, Halls of Valor, Darkheart Ticket, and the Violet Hold. Now, what really is important for Blizzard is that every dungeon is going to be part of the storyline and gonna have a storyline integration. So every dungeon will be in one of the leveling zones. The problem here is that it's only 5 dungeons over 10 levels. That means 1 dungeon every 2 levels, which is not that many. To get away from questing, people like to do a dungeon, but if they can only do the same dungeon for 2 levels, that dungeon becomes boring quickly. In my opinion, 5 leveling dungeons is not enough. I would like to see 1 dungeon for every level. That keeps you motivated to level as well, since you're gonna unlock a new dungeon when you ding, and gives some variation in which dungeons you want to do during your leveling. Because if you ding level 101, you're gonna unlock a new dungeon. If you ding level 102, you're gonna get another dungeon. So at level 105, you have 5 dungeons to choose from, 5 different dungeons to do to get away from questing. So I would like to see more dungeons during leveling, because that's one thing I really missed in Mists of Pandaria and was Draenor, is that you only have so limited dungeons to do to get away from questing. It feels like I have to quest, and that especially when you're gonna level alts and stuff, there's just, you've seen those dungeons over and over and over again, and you don't want to do those dungeons because they become boring. You already have done them so many times. But to have like 1 dungeon every 1 level with some quests in there could keep it interesting. So yeah, I would like to see more leveling dungeons. At max level, we're gonna get 5 more dungeons. We're going to get the Vault of the Wardens, Blackroot Hold, Helheim, Suramar Noble District, and Suramar Catacombs. So that makes 10 dungeons in total. That is what we got since Mists of Pandaria and since Wallace of Draenor. And what Mob and What have proved to us is that 10 dungeons for an entire expansion is not enough. I would like to see more dungeons added in patches. Karazhan? Now keep in mind, they hinted at Karazhan at 7.1. But that doesn't mean that Karazhan is going to be a 5-man dungeons. It could be a 10-man raid or a flexible raid. It could be just something where the Affliction Warlocks are going to get their weapon. I mean, Affliction Warlocks are going to the catacombs near Karazhan, if I'm right. So keep in mind that Karazhan is not promised to us. So it could change. People are saying, oh, we're going to get Karazhan as a dungeon. I saw that on the forums. I'm like, no, it's still up to change. They did not promised us, they did not say Karazhan is going to be a dungeon 7.1. I know one of the developers said that, and then the other one just jumped in and said, hey, you can't say that, and all the kind of stuff, and they were kind of joking around, but still, it's not confirmed, okay? Karazhan is not confirmed, so just want to point it out. But it would be great that indeed we get a new dungeon at 7.1. Otherwise, people are going to be really burnt out with doing the same dungeons over and over again. 10 dungeons for an entire expansion. If something that Mists of Pandaria and Wallace of Draenor proved us, 10 dungeons for an entire expansion is just not enough, and we need to get more dungeons with content patches. Now, dungeons and endgame. Dungeons endgame is a big thing Blizzard wants to work towards. And how are they going to do that? Let's talk about that a little bit. Dungeons needs to be remaining relevant, both in terms of difficulty and reward. Variation in the experience is something Blizzard wants to do, and avoid the Mechana problem. For those of you guys who did not play during the Burning Crusade, dungeons, heroic dungeons, which were really hard back in the day in Burning Crusade, they were harder than the current Mythic dungeons. They dropped badges, and from that badges you could buy gear, obviously. But also the last boss had a chance to drop a epic. It was, I mean, the Mechana was a tanking sword, if I'm right, the Sunblade or something like that. But the Mechana was the easiest heroic dungeon to tackle. So what people would do would actually farm farm the Mechana. Now you can only do the Mechana once every day, but people would rather do the Mechana every day than to do a different dungeon, because the Mechana was the fastest and most easiest to clear, so it was easy to farm your badges from that and then buy something at the end of the week. So that's something Blizzard wants to avoid, that you're going into the easiest dungeon and put that on farm and do that every day instead of going around to do the different dungeons in there. And that's by itself, it's a good thing. So how are they gonna make the dungeons relevant? Well, they came up with the Legion Challenge mode. What the Legion Challenge mode is gonna scale the dungeon up, not you down. That's something I like. Your gear, the things you work towards, should be relevant as well, right? It's not like, oh, I'm really good geared, but in the challenge mode, it does not matter how good geared I am. So I'm glad that they're gonna scale the dungeon up, not the players down. That's a good thing. They're gonna focus on this challenge mode. We're gonna have a timer. And the timer is going to be around the current silver. It's not going to be exactly the silver times, but it's going to be around the silver timer of challenge modes right now. And they want to focus on combat and gameplay and not just rushing. Now, focus on gameplay is great. I don't like the rush situation we're in right now. I never liked it. I hate to do leveling dungeons or basically any dungeons because it's just AoE pull and AoE down everything. I would like to go back to the days of the CC back in Burning Crusade. CC and trapping and all that kind of stuff. Well, CC is trapping, of course, but CC was a big thing back in Vanilla and Burning Crusade. You had to use hunter traps, you had to use sheep, otherwise you would wipe. It gave some nice team play. You had to go with a tank. The tank would mark up, and he would mark what you wanted to CC, and he would pull what was left. So if you had 5 mobs in front of you, you would CC. A mage would sheep one, a hunter would trap one, and he would put the other 3. The thing that happened in there was communication. You would talk to your tank. You would they would mark up at some point if you had a really good oiled machine. Then he would just mark and you would just trap. But it gave a team play kind of thing. It felt like team play. But the problem is, how we're gonna get that gameplay back, that focusing on gameplay, if you put a timer into the dungeons. It doesn't leave much time to use CC and mechanics if you have to beat that timer. You can't stand still and mark if you have to rush towards a timer. Now, the thing with the timer is, the Legion challenge mode is going to start with heroic dungeon difficulty. So the difficulty is less than it's right now. That's what it kind of looks like. Now, I could be wrong here, but that's how I interpreted it. Still, with the silver timer, I don't see how they want to focus on combat gameplay and not just rushing if you put a timer in there. It doesn't seem to mix well. Also, what they're doing is to make new modifiers to master each week. So enemies enraged at 30% health, extra enemies, corpses explode shortly after death, or periodic damage over time as long as the dungeon is in progress. Now, the way to put these elements into the challenge mode and to have separate challenges to do every week is the keystone. Now, how we're gonna get the keystone? The keystone is what we're getting the keystone by doing world content. Now, the thing with this is that everybody in World of Warcraft is gonna get the same keystone for the same dungeon that week. So we're gonna do world content, which is a good thing. I saw some people reacting on the forums saying, I don't get why we have to do world content to get a keystone. I do like that. I do like to be out in the world doing things, and that is actually an influence on our gameplay. But everybody's gonna get the same keystone for the same dungeon that week. And this is my first problem with it. Now, my questions about the keystone and the keystone problem is, how do we level up our keystone? If we want to have a level 5 keystone, do we need to do the same dungeon 5 times to get a level 5 keystone? Also, what I've heard, what I believe Ian Haskosa said, is one player is putting his keystone at risk. So, what does that mean? If we fail as a group, let's say we fail at level 6, then what? The one guy who put his keystone at risk, is he the only one who lost his keystone? Because if that's so, we can kick him and get somebody else in. But that gives other problems. Are we gonna replace that guy by finding somebody to have exactly the same keystone? Or if we get somebody with a level 3 keystone, do we need to run him through the dungeon another 2 times to get up to level 5 as well? Or the one player who put his keystone as risk has been removed, but the other 4 guys have the level 6 keystone. So can one of them become the party leader, and can we just grab somebody in with a level 1 keystone? Or the one player who lost his keystone, can he just continue with us and make somebody else leader who has the level 6 keystone, and that even though he lost his keystone, he can still join and actually abuse that system to level up his keystone while he's doing the dungeon again with us? Those are all questions. There's so many information we do not have. The problem is that burnout is likely to happen here. If you have to do the same dungeon 10 times to get a level 10 keystone, that's an issue, because keep in mind that week we can only do the same dungeon over and over and over again. So let's say you got up to level 15, you've done the same dungeon 15 times. Damn, that's a big burnout, guys. That is seriously boring. Even with different mechanics, it's still the same environment, the same mobs. It can become boring really quickly. The other thing, let's say you wipe at level 15. Okay, we wiped at level 15. Now we have to do, and you're that of a diehard group, you're gonna say, we're gonna push to get, we were really close, we want to clear level 15, we want to get a level 16 keystone. Good for you, big thumbs up, because that means you're a diehard doing the same dungeon 15 times. You're a badass, seriously, my respect. But, okay, you start over again, you're at level 10, and your healer DCs at a crucial moment, and your party dies. Oh damn. Does that mean you have to do the same dungeon again? Again do that 10, again get back to level 10, do it 10 times, then get back to level 15. Oh my god, that's such a big burnout, and you can't switch to doing another dungeon because everybody has the same keystone. So that's, for me personally, that looks like a big problem. Even though the dungeon's gonna have different mechanics, the mechanics which we have seen so far, and there could be many more mechanics, but it's still the same environment with the same mobs. And what we have seen so far from the mechanics is that they're not really that interesting. Oh, they're going into a rage and do more damage. Yeah, okay, we're gonna take damage over time, the entire dungeon. Yeah, so what? It's just a healing thing. It's not really that challenging so far that I'm seeing like big changes. Yeah, basically we need to do more DPS, or the tank is getting more damage, or there needs to be more healing done. It's not game breaking so far. Another problem with the dungeon challenge mode is class balance. Now, if you look at the start of Wallace Drannar for the challenge mode, nobody wanted to bring in a DPS warrior because they did not brought any CC or any debuffing or anything that was useful for the group. They didn't brought anything. Another example is that the periodic damage over time, which I just mentioned, is a really good mechanic for a Resto Druid. Your Resto Druid is going to have no problems. He can hot while he's moving, which is easier to beat the timer, and he can just keep those, keep costing those cheap rejuvenations to keep everybody healthy. But a single target healer is going to have much more problems with this. He has to stand still and cost, and it's going to be more frustrating for him, and it's going to be a little harder to beat the timer because he needs to stand still now and then, heal you guys up. So again, class balance is a big issue here. So what Blizzard needs to watch out for is burnouts. If we're gonna do the same dungeon over and over again for an entire week, that can burn out players very quickly. That's something that really I'm worried about. I'm really worried about that. And the class balance is something that is worrying me as well. So yeah. That being said, though, we've talked enough about the dungeons and about the criticism points I have about it. Let's talk about some positive things. They look amazing. The dungeons, what we have seen so far, the videos and the screenshots, they're looking so good, so amazingly good. I'm so hyped for these dungeons. I'm praying to the Blizzard gods that I will get a beta key, and I hope I will get one. And I will, if I will get a beta key, I will do these dungeons. I will record them. I will show you everything I can show because they are looking so good. Now, one thing to watch out for is that yes, they look good, but again, how's the gameplay? Example, the ship. The ship dungeon looks so amazing. Helheim, if I'm correct. I believe it's Helheim. It looks amazing. The ship looks amazing. If you look at the ship, it's sailing and you see the ocean beneath it, and in the background big tornadoes and all the kind of stuff. And the ship itself, it looks really like a damned ship. It looks so good, and I can't wait to get on it. But if it's gonna be a really tiny dungeon because it's only as big as the ship, and it's gonna be really boring because it's gonna turn into Violet Hole 2.0. Just mobs just spawn in, and after a certain waves of mobs, you will get a boss. It can turn out to be boring. Now we don't know. I'm just speculating here. So it's all about the gameplay. Yes, dungeons can look amazing, but if the gameplay is really lackluster, dungeons are not going to be any fun. But if they are gameplay-wise as good as they look, we're gonna have a hell of a time because damn, these dungeons look amazingly good. I'm so hyped for them. So yeah. So we've talked about everything there is to talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you like my content, and let me know in the comments down below. Do you think 5 dungeons during leveling is enough? How are you feeling about the keystone and about the challenge modes in Legion? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you agree or disagree with me? Put everything in the comments down below. I will read them and I will reply to them. Don't you worry. I thank you very much for watching and listening, guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. This is Dr. in the Disc Guy from Trent, and wishing you all a very nice day. Bye, guys.